Hello, and welcome to the crash course video for human geography. In this series, we have been focusing on culture. Today, we will specifically be focusing on pop culture, pop and folk culture, and why each culture's access is unequal. But what is culture? Culture is the characteristics and knowledge of a particular group of people. It is everything from language, religion, social habits, and even clothing. Culture is found all around us, and everyone has a form of culture. There are two prominent types of culture. These types are pop and folk culture. So what is pop culture? Pop culture is modern, popular culture. It is everywhere. You're using and viewing pop culture when you browse the internet, listen to music, watch television, go to a movie, or play a game. Things you do almost every day or every weekend. This video is an example of pop culture as modern technology is being used to film it and watch it. In layman's terms, the most used culture that is spread all throughout the world, containing a vast amount of people, can be defined as pop culture. Pop culture is also constantly fluctuating. But what is folk culture? Folk culture is the components of everyday life enacted by localized, tradition-bound groups. It focuses primarily on traditions practiced by small-foot, homogeneous, rural groups living in relative isolation from other groups, basically meaning small groups of similar people that live in separation from the rest of the world. In a previous video, you should have learned the ways pop culture and folk culture differ as it relates to origin and hearth, diffusion, and distribution. But now we will focus on specific examples: television and the internet, and including social media into the internet category. And these are the two most prominent methods of spreading pop culture. These methods allow people to gain access to information, music, ideas, art, and so much more. This technology is why pop culture spreads so widely and so rapidly through contagious diffusion. Let's look at how the television was spread throughout history. At first, televisions were limited to various hearths. Then as time progressed, the United States had more access than any other place in the world. Actually, they had 86% of the world's TV sets. Later, more Europeans gained access to TV, and it continued to spread all across the earth until nearly everywhere had easy accessibility to television. The internet follows almost the exact same path, except the process was sped up because of time-space convergence and globalization, as during the first few years or the origin years of the internet, the technology was more advanced than when the television was made. So access and travel was much easier. And just like TV and the internet, social media's hearths are usually from the United States. However, there is some controversy over TV and the internet because exposure and/or availability is directly connected to power. That's why some people link electronic media to cultural imperialism. And cultural imperialism is one culture dominating another or thinking they dominate another culture based off of power, influence, and economics. And some of the causes of cultural imperialism can be seen in these pictures showing money, land, power, and more. Electronic media consisting of radios, the internet, television, magazines, newspapers, and other outlets poses a threat to folk culture, as it eliminates the isolationism. Since folk cultures live or lived in separation, distance and distant decay cause for each culture to be different, each bringing diversity to the world. However, when information, music, clothing, and more is being put out at a fast rate to such a large audience, the larger audience becomes more similar to the point where there is less diversity or differences between people. Along with that, since Japan, the United States, and the United Kingdom dominate the TV industry, they control what other countries see on TV, what they believe, and social forms. The themes they present change the views of people across the world to their own personal ethics and beliefs. Overall, people are upset because countries that control the electronic media also control what people see and hear. They even have a strong influence on their personal ethics. But there is even more conflict with this because the information is spread from a point of ethnocentrism, degrading other cultures, specifically folk culture, and also causing them to adopt some or all of the features of the most popular cultures or pop cultures. So let's quickly recap, and I'm going to go kind of fast here, so if you miss anything, it's just a review. You should have already heard the material. So today we reviewed the diffusion of pop and folk culture. And diffusion is just the method of how and where a trend, item, belief, culture, or idea spreads or moves around the world to new places and to new people. The examples we examined were television and the internet. Both can be more easily accessed in the United States, causing for cultural imperialism and overall an impact on what people around the world believe. And it also accelerates the process of folk cultures dying off. Basically, the control of electronic media adds to globalization and time-space convergence, causing the world to be less diverse. So in all, the reason why pop and folk cultures have unequal access is because the access to electronic media is directly correlated with both cultural imperialism and globalization, as popular culture is viewed and can be proven to be more dominant than folk culture.